Hi, my name is Jim Simpson. It is late February 2021 as I record this, and what you see in front of me is my phone. This is an LG Wing. Haven't had it very long, but I'm very impressed with it. As you can see, it has some interesting multitasking capabilities, and we're going to talk about that, specifically as they relate to trucking or any other industry where you need to be on a phone call, but also obtain valuable information regarding that phone call on another screen. I'm going to show you a real world case example of that sort of thing that happens in trucking all the time. I would pretty much bet a freight broker working from home would have similar issues, and Lord knows how many other people. So, first thing is, let's go over this. What you see in front of you is LG's adapter from a USB-C port to a headphone port. Now, this thing came with the phone, which is awesome, but it's not great. It gives you a headphone jack very similar to most of the normal phones, but not the kind of ear candy that you get on previous LG phones like the V30. Well, I believe the V20 had it as well, where they have what they call a quad DAC, a high-end digital audio converter chip behind the headphone port. Well, here you don't have that. Now, for $100, I can go to Helm Audio and I can get a replacement for this that would give me that kind of ear candy. Let's be honest, when you play music through it. And I'm almost certainly going to do that, I should say. What you see here is one of the world's best earphones. What do you call these? One of the world's best in-ear headphone sets. It's made by Bose. It's about $100. Let's see if I can get the light. Yeah, there we go. Bose. That's about $100 worth, and they're awesome. And it's one of the reasons I've been this high-end audio coming out of the headphone port is one reason I've been an LG fanboy for some time. However, you don't get that on the Wing. And you don't because there's not a lot of room inside the case once you account for the hinge mechanism needed to do this. There we go. I'm doing it one-handed, of course, so it's a little tricky. Okay, so now we have an absolutely ordinary phone. But now we have a dual screen monstrosity. Pretty cool. Now, let's talk about the V60 for a second, which I consider a failure. In the V60, you had a phone that looked about like this, in very similar size, slightly wider actually, and it flipped open, and I don't have the second screen for the V60 at all right now, but I have the V60 is in my hand recording this. So the V60 opened like a book, and the base phone went into a holder, a case that had the second screen on it, and the second screen hardware connected to the base phone through the USB-C jack, okay, which is in the conventional place. Well, once you had this case around it, you don't have a USB-C jack anymore. You have a little magnetic port that held this, and that went right there on the outside of the case and gave you a USB-C port on this side and this weird little magnetic quick fastener on this side for the case. Well, if you go on Amazon and look for these, this is the second screen power adapter for an LG V60. You'll find them for about $50 because they break frequently. Okay. Worse, much worse, is when you took the V60 out of its case and you pried it out, basically, you were slowly bending the plug on the bottom and you were damaging the phone. The build quality of that port on the bottom of the V60 was not good enough for what they were doing, and you eventually slowly destroy the USB-C port. And at that point, the only way you can be able to charge it is to plug it into a turn the power on to the battery pack here, which went off. There we go. So you charge it through a wireless charger. Come on. Oh, there, it grabbed it just as I pulled it out. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it grabs it. Okay, and now you're charging. Okay. Now, the reason I'm still using that kind of wireless charger here is I like wired headphones. And this thing doesn't have a headphone jack, so I charge it through the wireless connection and I listen to the headphones. So when I've got this thing set up going down the road, I've got it swung open, and in the charger, like so, and then, oh man, come on. There we go. Okay, so going down the road on my dashboard, I'm like this. Okay, and I've got my, there it is, whoa, no, wrong app. Okay, when I'm going down the road, I've got, there it is, blank. I'm looking at the screen, so that goes like there. Okay, so on the top, here is the Copilot actual truck routing mapper, which I pay, what is it, $5 a month, $10 a month for that thing. But it keeps me out of low bridges and other crazy situations like that. If I want to, I can run Google Maps as a second screen down here. Well, I actually hit the wrong thing. There we go. I run Google Maps down there. So I can dual map in a complicated situation like, let's say, New York City, which can be really useful. Okay. I can also control Pandora for music as I go down the road. I can control, and there I'll go into my dashboard, of course, not the headphones. But I've got Pandora, I've got my phone dialer, I've got other things, and I don't need to break away from my main mapper up here. So that's a use case for a dual screen setup. When I'm parked, I am what's called a self-dispatched trucker, which means I run my own load board. I have control over where I go every day, and I use something called Dat Load Board. You can find a lot more information about it elsewhere. So when parked, I'll take it out of the holder for the moment. Okay. So when parked, I will be looking at a load and then calling the broker on that load. And I need to refer to load details over here as I'm making my phone call over here. And that's one of my biggest use cases for a dual screen phone, because in a tight market, if a bunch of truckers are trying to get to a particular load, this particular one's canceled, okay, no big deal. But if I'm trying to get to that load, I could have a dozen other truckers trying to get to it. It's kind of like trying to win a radio call-in show. So by having completely separate phone dialer functions and navigate the phone trees and whatever over here without breaking away from here, I can make the whole call go faster, and I can get into it faster, and I can get through the conversation with the broker faster. And that can mean, difference between a $500 load that day and a $1,000 load that day. In one day, I can pay for the roughly $300 to $400 premium I paid for this dual screen setup. This is worth it to me. Yeah, okay, cool. So what are the limitations with this phone? Well, I'm glad you asked. One of them is it's a complicated beast. You see, the user interface, when it's swung open like this, whether it's vertical, and it'll flip and say, there we go. Whether it's vertical or whether it's in this horizontal, what do you call this, T, sideways T shape, whatever. The user interface is different between the main screen and the side screen. Okay. How you control icons, how you pick programs, how you pick which programs are going to be available here versus here is different. And then it's different yet again if you're in conventional phone mode. Now it's standard Android. So you got 3 different user interfaces on this beast. It is a bit complicated. Not terrible, but and I adapted to it very quickly. But you got to have some geek chops and a willingness to adapt to it to some degree. Now, there's a lot of customization available in all 3 screens, but there's a learning curve. And if that kind of thing frustrates the hell out of you, this may not be the phone for you. Other issues is the battery life is not fantastic because a lot of the interior bulk of the phone in the upper half or so is taken up by the hinge mechanism. So that leaves less room for battery and computing power and other things in there. So the battery life is okay, but not top notch. The CPU and processor are okay, but not top notch. It's got Snapdragon 765 chipset, not the 865 or better you expect on a modern flagship. So it's a fraction slower. I don't think it's a good gamer's phone. Okay, the video and photograph functions, the camera functions on this thing, however, are fantastic, and you can see other reviews for that. But just to give you a quick example, if we go to camera, I don't think I've got the camera set up. There we go. So we got camera. We got weird stuff going on here, like a gimbal mode and this is going to be fun. So let's see. We're going to go pan follow mode. Okay. Where is that button for first person view mode? Dual recording. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Check this out. Dual recording. So yeah, so you're seeing me in one corner, and from the front screen, there I am. This is complicated. Okay, so it's got all kinds of interesting features. Oh yeah, the front-facing camera is a pop-up. Check it out. So if we go out of this mode, you'll actually see it retract. There you go. See it go away? All right. So as a video recorder and a camera, the Wing is fantastic. I'd say it's a world beater. In gaming, no, not a world beater. In battery life, not a world beater. But in dual screen functionality, in multitasking, especially where you have these business calls, where you have important information on one screen and you're trying to control phone trees and dialing in number. For example, when I'm trying to book a load, the advertisement for the load will very often have, there we go. So it's got a post ID from this particular broker, Total Quality Logistics. Okay. Post ID 750778. Well, I've got to type that in over here in the dialer. This robot voice comes, please enter your post ID. Well, the dual screen setup makes that so much faster. And again, that's part of the winning a radio contest feel that I often get. Now, from a broker's point of view, if you're on the other end of the line with me, I know what you're doing. You're calling, you're obviously talking to me. If you had one of these, you're talking to me. And over here, you've got web tools and other software that can check out what kind of a trucking company I'm with. Do we have a good credit score based on our MC number? Do we have a lot of failure reports? Or are we a good, legitimate company? Now, the company I'm with is very legitimate, very clean. And brokers like talking to me. But until they establish that over here, they're on the phone with me. They're trying to do two things at once. And if they're working from home, they might be working purely from their phone. So something like this would work for them. And God only knows how many other industries this kind of thing is an issue. So what LG's done here is come up with a way to build a monster of a multitasking phone without that side flop thing that they did it in the G8. They did it in the V50, the V60, and now they've got a version of that dual flop screen for the Velvet, which is actually a very similar phone to this. It just doesn't have the wing thing slide. LG's experimenting with that concept, and in my opinion, it's a failure. What LG should have done is built the phone as a dual screen in one solid unit, not this pop-in second screen. Okay, should have done it as one monolithic device, and that way your data connection between the two screens is a fixed point somewhere along the edge. You got a plain USB-C connector. You don't have this little bastard, this little dongle thing at all. And LG might one day make a side folder complete dual screen where you get two full-size screens that works. But until that day comes, until they do that, this is a killer answer. It's a really serious big thumbs up. Big thumbs up. And I'm willing to tolerate having to spend $100 to get my ear candy back. I'm willing to tolerate, in the meantime, using wireless charging, something like this, or I've got a couple others now. I'm willing to tolerate having to deal with something like this so that I can run both a headphone jack and power the phone down the road. Those are annoyances that I'm willing to live with for the sheer awesomeness of this phone. It's that simple. Now you can look at other reviews that'll give you more technical details. But what I'm showing you is a business case use for this thing. And I think it's serious. I think in the right industry, this phone's abilities can actually make you money. And a self-dispatched trucker dealing directly with brokers is one example of that. Cool. Thank you for listening. Bye.